Alright Boxers, this is Zach Rosette with Buildbox. In this video I wanted to check out Animationbox and take a closer in-depth look at the application, so let's check it out. So when you open up the software, you'll be welcomed by this creator window, and this is a great starting point because it's got a bunch of animation templates that are ready to go and ready for you to use. And let me just show you a couple examples of them real quick. We've got some basic human animations that come with running and jumping and idling and everything that you need to run a basic platformer animation. And we've also got some animations with accessories like a gun or a sword. We've also got some fun animations that are a little bit less serious, like this fun guy here. We also have some great bird animations, cat animations, dog animations, and other animal animations, even a little zombie animation, which is pretty cool. And we have some real complicated ones like a spider and a squid, and these are tough animations to do on your own, so these are really useful templates to use. We also have some templates that use animated characters with assets that are already set up for you. We've got some fantasy heroes, some minimal characters, and we've got a couple animals that you can use and set up as well. So let's go ahead and select one of the fantasy hero animations and get started. So I'm going to go ahead and select Heroic Boy. So this is what Animationbox is really all about. It's about taking these nodes and these bones here, and it's about moving them around so that you can create great character animations, object animations, enemy animations, whatever it is that you want for your game, you can animate it here in Animationbox. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to press pause on this play button here to stop the animation, but I want to show you real quick that you have a bunch of different animations that are already pre-made for you that you can take a look at and test out. So if you want to take a look at attack here, we can go ahead and just switch to attack and select attack and then press play, and you can see this great little sword attack that this Heroic Boy is doing. So there's a bunch of great ones here, and I would suggest to take a look at them in the beginning so that you can get a feel for what animations you have available, and then we can go ahead and start tweaking them to suit your game. Alright, so before we just dive in and start making a bunch of animations, I want to quickly show you some of the features that you're going to be using while you're making your animations so that you have a better idea of what tools you have available so that you can make animations more efficiently. So first thing I want to show you is this little eye tool over here on the top right, and this is skeleton visibility. Okay, and so when you turn this on and off, you're able to see the bones and then not see the bones. And so this is really nice for playing your animation and getting an idea of what it's going to look like without all of those bones and nodes in your way. The other tool I wanted to show you is the axis visibility button here. You can turn it on and off so you can see the X and Y axes, so that can help with your animations. So that's one quick little feature that I wanted to show you. Another one that I wanted to quickly go over is this root outline over here. You can see that the root node is at the top of the outline, and then after that is the pelvis, and then the legs and arms, and everything kind of falls underneath that. And just in case you don't know which root node I'm talking about this one right here, this big one that I'm pointing to right now. And each one is stemming off of that one. So the pelvis is coming off of that one, and everything is attached to the pelvis. And this is kind of a good rule of thumb when you're making your animations, is you want to have one image or one node in the center of your animation that is going to handle the rotation of the entire animation. And the pelvis or the body is usually a good one to choose and a good one to build off of. So that's the root outline. It's really helpful. It's got all of the nodes and the assets listed here, and it's got these useful little lines so you know which assets fall within each node. And if you also need to hide the outline, you can do so just like this. It'll free up a little bit of space for you. The next feature I wanted to show you is the Assets toolbar here on the left. We have a whole bunch of great images that you can use for different animations, and the best part about it is that you can totally mix and match these images to make unique animations. So let's say we wanted to go ahead and get rid of the Heroic Boy's legs and add in a couple different types of boots. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the Heroic Girl's leg, and I'm going to drop it in on top of my node and pinpoint it right here so that it is right where the node bends, and so it's going to bend right where I want it to. So you want it to kind of be right at the knee, and see how I'm placing it right there. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to resize these images here just like that and make it look a little bit better, and that looks pretty good. Okay, great. So now it's as easy as just dropping in those images, and then now we can press play again and we can see the animation playing perfectly with the new images. And so now I can go ahead and switch to attack. I can do a dying effect or a jumping effect, and it will update the animation with the new images, the new assets. And so this is really cool. So it's really fun to try dropping in a couple different images, like different heads and hats and different things like that, to try to create unique animations. And so that's really cool. And we've got some great fantasy hero assets to choose from, and we've got some minimal character ones. And the minimal character ones are really fun to mix and match because you can really create something unique. It's really a fantastic selection. So you can really go wild and create brand new characters that nobody's ever seen before. So I want to show you a few more things before we close this out. I want to show you how to import new assets so that you can bring in your own images to try to add these to the animations. And then I'd also like to show you how to manipulate these animations so that you can change them around to suit your needs. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go down here to the bottom left, and I'm going to click on Import Assets. Now I'm going to give you a little bit of a disclaimer, a little bit of a warning in advance here. I am choosing some old goblin assets that I bought a long time ago, okay? And these are my personal assets that I just have, and I wanted to try to throw them onto this character to use as feet, you know, to kind of switch up the look of this character. So they might not match perfectly with this character, but I just wanted to try it out and see and show you that you can add other assets to this and you make your animations unique, and you can mix and match and stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in here. I'm going to take this node, I'm going to move it right down here to the base of the heel, because that's where it's kind of like a hinge, you know, and that's where I want it to bend. And then I'm going to take these goblin feet that I just added by pressing the Import Assets button, and I'm going to drag it in right on top of this node here, okay? So then I'm going to rotate this node around. I'm going to resituate it. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. Okay, you can tell already that it's not going to match here, but I wanted to show you an example of how you can make these a little bit more unique. So I'm going to grab this, move it just a little bit there, resituate it so that it bends really nicely, because the key is we want it to rotate really nicely like this, okay? And so this is just an example, and I'm going to bring in one more here. I'll bring in the other foot. I'll bring it in on that node as well. Try and make it roughly around the same size. Rotate it around, situate it just how I want, and there we go. And I can probably make this a little bit bigger, a little bit better. Okay, great, and we'll rotate it. Okay. So I just added these images here, and now let's take a look at the animation with these little funky little boots that I gave the character, which they just look super goofy, okay? So don't give me too much of a hard time on this. So I just want to show you that you can add in new assets and it's still pretty awesome. So let's go ahead and take a look at what this jump animation looks like with his new little boots. Oh my gosh, look at those boots jumping up and down. They don't belong to a goblin anymore. They belong to this heroic boy. It's looking awesome. Okay, and he's attacking with his boots, and they're bending at the right place, and it's pretty sweet. So I just brought in completely brand new assets that I just had. I'm not even joking, man. These are from so long ago, but I brought them in, and you can just, you know, add a little something extra to your character, you know. And those don't look horrible, okay? They're not the greatest for sure, but they're not bad. They're not that bad either. So you can, you know, add a little something to it. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to show you is how to manipulate this animation if you want to. So let's say that you think that the attack is a little bit too dramatic, or it's a little bit too exaggerated. Well, if we press this little arrow button over here on the right, we open up the animation window. And what I suggest doing is making it so that the character is up here on the top, and you give yourself plenty of space here in the animation window so that you can see both. And what you want to do is you want to select a node that you want to manipulate and you want to change, and you can look at the change on the X position, the Y position, or the rotation. Right now you can see that there's a small change going on with the X position right here, and there's also a small change going on with the Y position. What is really happening though with this animation is a big change with the rotation. And so you can see right here with this steep axis, it's got a really dramatic change. And throughout the rest of the animation, it's more gradual. So let's say you want to bring the animation exaggeration down and you want to make it a little bit more subtle. Well, then what you'll want to do is you'll want to select one of the nodes here, and you can totally bring it down, and you can change the curve to make it a little bit more natural, a little bit more gradual. And so I can go ahead and manipulate these here, and you can see the difference instantly with the animation. It's not as dramatic, and you can even take this down, way down, and really flatten it out and make the animation a little bit smoother if you don't want to have so much movement on your animation. So let's take a look at that now. Okay, great. So it's a subtle change. The leg is not moving as far back and it's not making as much of a rotation. But this is how you can manipulate your animations to make drastic changes as well. Okay, so the last thing I wanted to teach you is how to create a brand new animation without using any of the templates, without using any of the presets that we give you. So you'll want to go down here to the Create New button and click on it. So here's Animationbox with a completely brand new window. So there's no presets going on here. You just start off with this idle animation down here at the bottom. So the first thing I suggest doing always is moving the root node down here and moving this one up here, okay? And you don't have to do this. This is just a personal preference, but I think it makes it look a little bit cleaner. It's a little bit easier to work with. And so what you want to do is you want to drag in your assets here into your node, and each time you want to add in a new asset or a new node, you click on the node that is currently the parent node, and you can hit a little plus sign to create little children nodes, okay? And so you can keep hitting little plus signs to create a different node. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make a little leg here. A leg is going to start here. I'm going to make this be the body. I'm going to add another node here, and this will be the other leg. And then we'll go ahead and we'll add one more node here, and this will be the knee node. This will attach at the knee. And we'll do the same thing for this one. And so, oops, I keep stretching it out. That's my fault. I just clicked in the wrong place. And then I'm going to add in some assets to this. So let's go ahead and add in a body real quick. Drop it into that node. I'm going to just set it right there. Okay, perfect. And then I can go ahead and drop in a leg as well. So I'll go ahead and do that right there. Perfect. I'll resituate it so it's right about there. And I can resituate this node now as well too. And you can see here that there's a little bit of setup, okay? This first part of this whole Animationbox thing is just setting up the assets where you want them to go, and then you work on the animation stuff later. Okay, so right now there's like a little bit of setup so that I'm just getting all these images where I want them to be, and then you can start manipulating them and changing them in just a little bit. So right now I've almost got his lower half all set up here. And so we're looking good, and those are bending right at the right place. And let's go ahead and add in a couple arms as well. And you know what, I need to make the node for that first. So I'm going to click on this node, I'm going to press plus. I'm going to make this one be the head, and I'm going to place it right about there so that the head turns left and right at the base of the head, right at the neck. And then I'll add a couple more nodes here. I'll add it up here to the arm. And let's go ahead and do that. You know, I almost think that this would be better to put at the shoulder. So I'm going to move this down here. I'll place this just like that, and then now we've got a shoulder thing. So that's another little trick with the placement, okay, is just getting things in the right area. So I'll drag in that arm. Okay, looking pretty good. I'll hold command down so that I can rotate it a little bit. You have to hold the command button down to watch the mouse change on the screen here. You can see that it changes from rotation to changing the scale with the aspect ratio. So I'm going to add in another node real quick. And let's go ahead and add in the other shoulder, and then we'll add in the elbow that's going to attach to this with the hand attached to that. And let's see here, we'll add the elbow in a little bit premature right there as well. So there we go. I'm gonna just drag this down. I'm gonna press command and then my left bracket to throw it behind my arm because it looks a little off to me being in the front. And I think I'm going to hold the command button down and twist it out just a little bit too, so that I can make a nice connection with my elbow here. I'm going to move the node right at that joint where I know it's going to attach. And then let's go ahead and add in some elbows. I'm going to go ahead and drop that in right there. I think that's a little big. I'll make it a little smaller. And I'm going to rotate it around a little bit as well. So that looks good. Okay, cool. And I'll add in one more as well over here. Okay, great. And that's a little bit big. He looks like he's got a giant fist there. So let's go ahead and put that right there. I think I went a little bit too much in the other direction, made it a little too small. And then we can add in one more node here to attach a sword, which I think would be cool. I think the other one had that as well. So we'll add in the sword. Okay, great. And make sure you situate the nodes so that it is falling right where you want it to be. Okay, cool. I think it's a little off right about there is good. Okay, cool. And then let's go ahead and take the skeleton visibility off. Okay, that's not horrible. That looks pretty good. And then I'll add in one more hand. Or actually, you know what? Better yet, let's make it a shield. So I'm going to press this node. I'm going to press the little plus sign. I'm going to move it right about here. And then I'm going to drop in a shield. Okay, cool. And I'm going to rotate that around a little bit so you can see a little bit more of the arm, and it makes a little bit more sense. Okay, great. And then last but not least, it's about time we get a head on this guy here. And wow, he's got a big old head. Okay, so let's shrink that down a little bit. We're still going to have a pretty good sized head on this guy. That's kind of how the character is drawn, and that's just part of the illustration, the animation here. And you can totally manipulate this and make the head as big as you want or as small as you want, so that's totally up to you. But right now I've got my character all set up, so it took a little bit of time just to place everything, and then now we can start the animation. Okay, so let's go ahead and start. Let me show you how to make the animation. First off, I'm going to pick right down here, I'm going to pick how many frames I want. And so if I want there to be 20 images in my assets in Buildbox, remember that all these frames are going to take up space in your assets. So you want them to be, you want to use as little as frames as possible and still make the animation smooth, so you're not taking up too much space, and it's making your game, it makes your game still go fast. It doesn't slow down your game. So you want to use somewhere around 20 frames is good, or maybe 15. You don't want to go too high. So I'm going to go ahead and stick with 20 frames, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open up the animation window here. I'm going to hold the space button down right up here. I'm going to shift my character up, and then I'm going to move the animation window up like this, so I got plenty of space, and then now I can start manipulating all this. So first off, this is going to be a little bit tough. Okay, it takes some time to do this, but I'm going to go ahead and put a little node here. I'm going to click there. I'm going to move my marker up here to the end, and then I'm going to create another node right there. And what this does is this is going to create that perfect loop. Okay, so I'm starting and I'm ending at the same point, which is really nice. So let's say I want to make a change in the X position, because that's where I'm at right now. So right here at the 10 marker, I'm going to add a little node, and then you can just shift it up. Okay, and you can see the legs swing out. So let's say I want to move it a little bit forward. Okay, I want to take the rotation on that, and I'm going to keep the I'm going to make markers at the end and at the beginning, or at the beginning and the end. And then I'm going to make this right here. Okay, it's moving up, so I also want to bend it a little bit. Okay, and I also got to make sure I include the thigh, because the knee is moving but the thigh isn't. So let's go ahead and we'll get back onto the X position here. And you know what, actually I think it's on the rotation would be better. So I'm going to make sure I have my marker here in the beginning and at the end, so that I end with a perfect loop. And then I'm going to take another dot right here, and I'm going to move it up just like this. So clearly we've got an issue here with the node moving up, and it's not moving correctly. So what I need to do is I need to select that node and make it not move in the X position at all. We're going to move this back up right there, and what we'll do is we'll rotate it and we'll have it bend just like that as the knee comes up. So right there, the knee is coming up, and you can zoom in and out here to change your animation a little bit easier. And so let's take a look here at that. So now I'm going to click this node, okay, And I'm going to make sure that everything is swinging right. Okay, great. So it's coming up. And let's make it move nice and big right there. And then we'll do the same thing with this one here. Put a marker in the beginning and at the end, and then we'll put one in the middle. We'll move this down here, click on this one, and then beginning and end, and then grab this here one in the middle and then swing it down. Okay, so we should be seeing a bend on both of them, and let's take a look at what that looks like now. Okay, cool. So he's kind of got a goofy little dance going around and they're swinging, but it's super easy to change these animations and to move things around. If you are having trouble moving things around in this window, make sure you use the spacebar key to shift things up and down for yourself. And yeah, and so that's how you can create brand new animations. I know it's a real simple thing, a simple move with just the legs here swinging up and down, but I think that this is a good example of how you can manipulate the bones and manipulate the nodes to create animations. So if I also wanted to move the arms and the shield or any part of the body, you would move it in the exact same way. And don't forget to put the node here in the beginning, at the end, so that you end in perfect loops, so that when you're using these animations in your game in Buildbox, it is going to create perfect loops. It's not going to look glitchy. It's going to look really smooth and professional, and that's what you want. So make sure you've got those nodes here at the end. Okay, so that's a look at creating brand new animations and the process with that. Make sure you set up all your images first, get everything placed how you want, and then you go ahead and slowly experiment with moving things around. And it's so easy to manipulate here, moving things left and right. So this is really where the bulk of the animation is done right here. This is mostly part of the setup, and then choosing how you want to manipulate things. Okay, so the last thing that I wanted to show you is how to take these animations that you make in Animationbox and export them into Buildbox so you can actually use them in your games. So the first thing I want you to notice is these first animations that we give you here, the attack, die, idle, jump, run, walk, a bunch of these ones here. Some of you might be concerned that there's 82 frames here, but here's what you do, okay? We're gonna go up here to the top left and we're gonna click on File, and then you need to click on Export. So it's going to open up this window. It's going to ask you where you would like to export these images. So I'm going to just create a new folder called Character 1, and I'll click Create, and then I'll go ahead and click Open, so I've got all of my animations in a nice organized folder. The next thing it will do is it'll ask you what export options you would like. And so you can decide how big you'd like the image to be by pixels or by percent. And if you want to change them individually, you just take off this linking thing so that they're not being changed together. The other thing that you do is with the 82 frames that I've got on this idle animation, 82 frames is just too many frames, too many images for Buildbox. So it's not a good idea. You mostly want to try to keep it around between 15 or 20 or kind of in that ballpark. So the highest I would say you want to go for kind of a good rule of thumb is 30 frames per second here. If you go up to 60 frames per second, you're going to get lots of images, a lot of your animations will look really, really smooth, then it'll be nice, but it'll take up so much space in your assets, it might actually slow down your game a little bit if you're just using too many images and just overloading it. So I'm going to go ahead and go with 15 frames per second, and you can also just choose a custom frames per second if you like, so you can get your images down to practically nothing. So I'm going to go ahead and export it down, and we'll go ahead and take a look at what that animation looks like in Buildbox. And then also it will give you this animation export complete alert, so you know that that's done. And then I'm going to go ahead and exit out of this, and let's open up Buildbox. So this is the Buildbox welcome window, just in case you haven't seen it before. I'm going to go ahead and click Create New, and I'm going to use this character I just made for a platformer game. So I'm going to scroll over here to Platformer, and I'm going to select that one and hit Create. Okay, awesome. So I've got this great platformer template set up here. So I can go ahead, I'm going to just select characters, and then I'm going to select my character. And this will open up the animations menu over here on the right. So I'm going to drag, so I'm going to take my character 1 animations here. You can see the folder right here on the right. I'm going to open it up, and I'm going to take my idle images here, And I got a total of, let's see here, 20 images altogether, which is perfect. That's exactly around the number you want to use. That's in the zone. And so I'm going to take those images, I'm going to just drag them over here and drop them into the default animation. Great. So I'll exit out of that. And then now I've got my character here. And right now I haven't changed the collision shape on it, so it's a little bit off. So he's going to, if I just let him fall, he's going to fall like down here. It's going to look a little off. So I'm going to real quickly just change the collision shape on this character just a little bit. I'm not going to go crazy. I just don't want him standing like on his head. So I'm going to exit out of the shape editor. And now let's take a look at this animation here in the game preview. Okay, great. So he's just hanging out there, he's just chilling and he's idling, and that looks pretty darn good. The character is really big and we should make him a little bit smaller and stuff, but as far as the animation goes, it looks really great. I'm also going to take a look at the default animation within the animation editor. So I'm going to zoom in here so you can see it a little bit better. Okay, great. So I'm going to go ahead and press play real quick on this animation so you can see. Okay, cool. So he's idling and it looks pretty good. You can also, if you feel like the idling is going too fast, you can easily change the speed of the animations here. You can change the speed right here, and I can do 0.6 is usually around where I notice sometimes that's like the happy spot for me. And so now let's take a look at this animation a little bit slower. Okay, cool. So it's looking pretty good. The slower you play the animation, the choppier it's going to look because it's going through the frames slower and stuff. So you'll want to, so if you want your animations to be really smooth, then you need to speed up the animation a little bit. Alright, and just for fun, let's go ahead and take a look at what it would look like if I threw in a sword attack animation, a jump animation, and a moving animation. So I'm going to go ahead and throw those in there right now as well. So I'm going to go ahead and do a running animation instead of walking for the moving. So I'm going to take these 14 frames, I'll drop them in for the move animation. And I'll take the jump animation here and I'll drop that into the animation box within Buildbox. Okay, got the jump. Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to exit out of this. I'm going to make this character a little bit smaller because he's a little bit too big right now. So I'm going to make him about 0.5 and 0.5 on the scale. Okay, that looks a lot better. Okay, great. So let's go ahead and check this out. So I'm going to press start. We've got our character idling right there. Awesome. And he's got this really goofy, cool run. I like his run style there. And we've got this little jump. Cool. So he kind of kicks his legs up and gets a nice little jump in the air. Kind of pivots a little bit. Okay, awesome. So this looks really great. So this just shows you how easily you can make animations in Animationbox and drop them into Buildbox and just expedite the entire creation process and the entire video game creation process. So this really is groundbreaking, and so I hope you enjoyed it and you got a lot out of this, and I hope you really make some good use out of Animationbox, and I can't wait to see all of your games. So thank you so much, everybody. This has been fun.